This is where you have to say.
Oh,
Yeah, you're the.
I'm in charge. I'm not doing a very good job. Welcome to Ask a Reporter, AAR. You're in the hot seat today.
I am. This is the hot seat.
That's
Because normally I'm on
the
that
hot
side,
seat.
aren't I?
The cold seat.
The cold.
It's weirdly cold here.
Shiz.
Yes, and that's because we're talking about a story that you did.
We are. I don't know how I feel about this, Jack. I haven't done this in so long. Like, I'm always the one sitting there with the tablet, and
let me torture
you.
you.
The control, guys.
We've got all the hard-hitting questions.
Oh, man. You guys have asked some pretty hard-hitting questions. I will do my very best to answer them.
Yes. Well,
and this is the first Ask a Reporter of the term. So
welcome
back,
is.
we should
Welcome
say.
back.
Thanks for joining
First episode
us again.
of the term.
Yeah,
was
first
this week.
episode. So first AAR.
Term 3.
Love
Time
it.
flies when you're having fun.
That's it. Oh, only a couple terms to go, then it's Christmas.
Wow.
Whoa.
It was Christmas a couple of terms ago, though.
It was. That's a really good point.
It's as if Christmas happens every year.
It is as if that was a thing.
Hmm.
These are things you'll learn on Ask a Reporter. Christmas is but once a year.
But let's focus on your story that you did this once every year. That wasn't a good segue, sorry. What is the story? What are we talking about today?
Okay, so today we are talking about megafauna.
Megafauna, that's mega.
Big animals. That's what we're talking about.
Megafauna, big animals.
We can make this into a whole hand action term.
Yeah.
So I found this topic totally fascinating. I hope you guys did too. I mean, what can get better than big animals? Like, it's such a fun story and it's so interesting. So we're talking very specifically about Australia's megafauna. Because of course, like animals all over the world being different, Australia has some different big old creatures.
That aren't around anymore?
We'll get to more actually on that because that's actually a really good question, Jack.
Oh.
In Australia, they aren't around anymore. So there's a little clue for what we'll get to later. But yeah, so megafauna in Australia, and we're talking about it because in the NT in Alice Springs, you'll know, if you're lucky enough to live there, that there is an exhibition at the moment at the museum there, and it's called Megafauna Central. And it's
Big Animals Central.
Big animals. I'm sorry, we'll stop
Every time
doing
we
this
say
eventually.
megafauna, we have to go, big animals.
Megafauna.
Big animals. No. We could see
no,
how long
you
it
guys don't get
lasts.
sick of that. No, surely not.
Nod. The camera can't move.
Oh, it can't. Ooh, maybe that's the future of AAR.
They can respond.
Camera responses.
The light flashes. No.
They're saying, please stop saying that.
Saying what? Big animals.
Oh,
We need text to appear.
We do need text to appear. Wouldn't that be good?
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so there's an exhibition.
Yeah.
And what can we see at the exhibition?
So we can see lots of fossils from extinct megafauna.
Big old fossils.
Big old fossils and the big old animals. We won't do it again, even though I really want to now. Hold those hands back. So also some models of what the animals would have looked like. So not just the bones. And you can learn all about Australia's megafauna and more about the possible reasons they became extinct. So it's a pretty cool exhibition.
Well, we've got stacks of questions, so we should probably get started.
Let's do it. I might have some secret little bits of paper
they're not
here.
Secret if you tell us about them.
That's true. Well, they're public knowledge now.
And I've got some secret tea.
Ooh.
No, it's just normal tea.
Normal tea. He always has tea.
I drink tea.
I like it.
It's a prop.
You drink tea. There's nothing in it. It's empty. It's an empty mug.
I won't tip it over. Okay, so well, let's go in with the first question, and that is from Katerina from Fern Court Public School or Primary School. It says PS. How did the archaeologists determine how old the fossils were?
Oh, Katerina, that's a really good question.
How do we know that they're old? How do we know they're not just from that big old animal that died the other week?
Bless you in the background. You know what? I actually don't know specifically how they work it out, but I know there are processes where, see, I know a little bit more about, like, there are ways that you can tell by the soil that they're in.
Okay.
So I know that's a thing. I'm just trying to, if you're
Is it to
testing
do
me,
with,
Katarina,
like,
I'm trying to
if you-
remember actually. So
the
how
further you
far
go
down,
down.
yeah, the fossils are found.
Because it's not
So
just going to
if
be
it's going-
something on the surface.
No, exactly. If it's on the surface, then it would be like a massive, weather, something, that has happened with the weather or movement that's made the sand all change, and it would be pretty unlikely, because if you're thinking millions of years ago that these animals have died, they're going to be often quite far below ground. I think the one way they tell is by testing the fossils and seeing what kind of soil it has been around them. But it's a good question to know more. We'll see if we can find some more facts on that, because it's a really good one.
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
See if we've got any archaeologists
If our
lying
little
around.
birdie might be able to find more about it.
A little
perhaps.
birdie.
Yes.
Okay. Well, here's a question. Are they real? And that comes from Hudson from Herne Hill Primary School.
Hey, Hudson. No.
No.
They're not. No.
well.
They are, Hudson. I was just lying. Terrible.
They're real.
They're real.
They're real things.
They're real things. How unbelievable are they? Like, it's amazing. If you saw my story, the diprotodons, which I'm sure we have some questions about because they're such cool creatures. So they were the really big wombats. So they're related to wombats. And they are massive. So I've got a measurement here. So they could stand to about 1.8 meters tall.
1.8 meters tall.
Yes, like they're as big as like a truck, basically.
It's
and
a little
then,
bit. 1.8 meters tall. That's not the height of a truck.
1.8 meter tall person, but they weighed like what was it? It was about 2 tons. So what is that in
That's
kilograms?
like 2,000 kilograms.
It's the same. Yeah, so it's the same weight as a truck would be. They were massive, like massive.
Because I was going to say I'm a bit taller than 1.8.
Yeah, but that's the height. You have to remember that's just the height.
Yeah.
So lengthwise,
So that's really
as much
tall.
as 4 meters long. So that's the height there. But think about that.
Imagine
width as well.
like a wombat that size just walking up to you.
I know. Isn't that
could be
amazing?
cute.
And they were herbivores. They weren't going to go munching on you. So that's good,
nice.
which is nice.
Unless you were eating some lettuce and they wanted that lettuce.
Oh, and then like how like a dog will accidentally like nip you if you're trying to feed it, or like we just wanted lettuce. Yeah, maybe that's a good point, Jack. Good point. You do.
Got to be
Ask the
careful.
big
You got to be
questions.
prepared
While feeding diprotodons
while
lettuce.
feeding them.
But imagine them in herds as well. And I don't know if you call them herds, but imagine a bunch of them marching along. Like that would be.
Would be like an
that
elephant.
Would cause like
Oh, not as big.
earthquakes. Like massive.
Earthquakes.
Probably not earthquakes.
Destruction everywhere.
Shatteringly, like
You would know. You would
know
hear
if
it
they were
coming.
coming, if a bunch of diprotodons were
It'd be
coming
like
your way.
stuck in traffic and
Stuck
seeing
in
them all.
traffic.
Well,
I
okay.
don't think
Well,
there are cars.
I don't know if you can answer this. This is from Jeremy, I believe, from Coogee Public School, and it
Hey,
is
Jeremy.
why were the megafauna so big?
Yeah, so I find this question really interesting. It's a good one, Jeremy. I am not a total expert on these things because I'm not a paleontologist.
You're not?
I'm not actually.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm an archaeologist.
What about all those business cards you were handing
saying
out?
paleontologist. But I would like to hazard a bit of a guess and suggest that perhaps one of the reasons creatures in Australia grew so big is because of the amount of space we have. This is just an idea that I have because if you consider, for instance, a goldfish,
Yes.
and you know how if you keep a goldfish in often a small confined space,
Yes.
and that goldfish will stay a small size.
Yeah.
But when it's proven, you can take that goldfish out and you put it in a big old pond and it will grow bigger. So I figure if there's tons and tons of space in Australia, especially back then when for a long time people weren't around, you have free reign.
And I guess there's plenty of
And
food.
there's plenty of food, big tall trees if you're a herbivore. Who knows, maybe you need to be big to get the food from those trees. Like, I don't know, this is just, I don't know if I've completely made that up, but I think that sounds like a pretty legitimate idea to me. But yeah,
There was a question in here. Let me have a look. It was
See,
about
it's
the
hard,
environment.
Isn't it? This is why, guys, I'm always like, let me find this thing.
Let
It's
me
tough on the
have
tablet.
a look. Well, there's just so many questions to have a look through. But there was one about the environment and what it was like when Megafauna was alive, when these
Yeah, what
animals
it
were
was
alive.
like.
Do you know much about what the...
Yeah,
was it
well-
Megaflora?
It's got
Miniflora.
Megafauna.
Big plants.
Look, it was a very much a changing environment, because you were talking some of these animals being alive over, a very long periods. Some, were alive just 45,000 years ago. Others were millions of years ago. So you saw in my story there was Baru. How cool is that? Like the super croc, the ancient super croc. So that was an 8 million year old fossil. So along those lines, I guess, while the environment would have changed a lot, at least some point, some of these areas, in particular Alcuta, where all of the fossils at the museum were found, and it's like a very, very rich fossil site, pretty much the richest in Australia, like as in it has so many fossils that are found there, and that's because the environment in that area wouldn't have been dry like you would know Alice Springs to be now in the NT, but would have been a wet environment. So there would have been more rain. There was actually a watering hole there, and so a watering hole, and also sort of a lake system is what scientists think. So the reason for all of those animals being found there, like something like 3,000 individual animals, and I think more than 30 different species of animals in this one area, they think it's because they would sort of come there, and then as the climate started changing, so this is natural climate change, so not talking about what we know now as climate change, and what's more commonly talked about is the idea that humans are bringing on climate change, but natural climate change happened a lot too, and still does. And so it's believed that these animals would go and try to get some water. These are the animals, here are the lakes, but because the environment was drying out, the lakes would get smaller, so they'd go in and then they'd die, and then some others, because they're running out of water or they're aging or whatever, they'd live in that area, so then they'd die. Those fossils would be there, they'd keep going in as the water would keep drying up, so there'd be more and more and more, and they'd all be around this area, and they all would have died there, and that's why there's so many bones.
Interesting? So it looked completely different.
It would have looked, very, very different. I think more plants and
green.
More green,
Greenery.
more blue.
And that I found the question. It was, what is the environment like in those days? And that was from Ainsley Primary School, and it was from Min. So thank you for that question.
Min.
Good question. So, and you kind of briefly touched on this in the intro. This is from Mary C. from St. Andrew College. And it was Megafauna only in Australia or all around the world?
Such a good question. Was it Mary?
Mary C.
Mary C. Oh,
Or Mary.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely not. No. There was megafauna all over the world, just like there are different animals all over the world.
And so they were different species.
Yeah, different species. So can I show you guys one of my favourite ones, okay, that I came across in my studies? It's back here. I have the fossil. No, let's look at a picture, because I might need a reminder of the name.
Whoa.
It's a long name, but this was... for a
Big
long
bird.
time thought to be the biggest flying species of bird to ever have existed. So as you can see there, those wings are massive.
They are huge.
Yeah, so I think it was, like maybe
It's like
a
a small
5
plane.
meter wingspan.
Wow.
And so that's kind of what it would have looked like. And
But massive.
but much bigger.
It could have fit us in its claws.
It's incredible, isn't it? And so that bird it was alive in Argentina. So there you go. So that was megafauna that didn't exist here, but yeah, in Argentina that was a thing, and it's so cool. And only quite recently, I believe, they found the bones of what they think could possibly be an even bigger bird. But that was, for a long time, that was the one they believed was the biggest bird to ever existed on Earth.
Wow.
Yeah, that we know of.
Oh,
So
and
incredible. Oh, yeah, okay. Do you want to talk about, as well, just another fun one?
Oh.
Flightless bird.
Flightless bird?
No, my little... Oh, the mammoth. Oh, I was going to just... Yeah. All right. Sorry. So, this is the woolly mammoth. How amazing
I've
is
seen him
that?
in a cartoon movie.
Oh, what would that be, Jack?
It was, I don't know what it was called, but it was about an ice age.
Do you guys know what that might have been?
Don't know.
Strange.
So where was the woolly mammoth from?
I don't actually know where the woolly mammoth was from. Was it North America? North America. There you go. Oh, yeah, of course, because of the movie. Yeah.
They all had American accents.
That movie, Cold Time. They all had American accents.
Cold Time. Cold Time. Could be a movie.
So North America, so can you imagine that? That is one massive animal too.
It's
and I
one
was just
whole
going to
lot
mention
of mammal.
Mammal. I said
It's a
mammal.
whole lot of mammal.
Are we doing this again? Not the whole
was the
lot
whale.
of whale. Ooh, whales. Want to know about that too?
Big animals. Yes. Big animals.
Yes. Oh,
The
we
camera's
got
all
our
back to front.
titles.
Woo.
Big animals. Megafauna. It's just so much
Cold
fun to
time.
do. Cold time.
All right, so this is from Lila, and it's from St. Columba's Catholic School, and she says, "Hi, I'm a big fan."
Oh,
Thank
hello.
you.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you guys would be scared if you lived in that time.
Oh, I think so. Although, I mean, I don't know. You don't know what time you're living in when you're living in it, do you? So if you were the first...
I'm scared in this time.
Well, you know, like if you were one of the first humans, I don't know, you just kind of go with it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I remember you did a story on life expectancy, and you mentioned that people back in prehistoric times didn't live for as long because
Not very long at
because
all.
they had to be concerned about these.
Yeah,
giant
that's it. So,
Ooh,
oh my gosh, look at this. So now this is the one I was going to mention. So this was in my story, this creature, this amazing creature, and it was the biggest flightless bird. So we saw before what was for a long time thought to be the biggest flying bird. There's my flapping. But this was one that was on the ground. And isn't this funny?
Like a giant
It's
chicken.
a bit like a giant emu or
Oh,
something.
that's probably
or giant,
better.
giant chicken's fine too.
That's probably
But as you
better.
can see
Because
there,
chickens fly.
3 meters tall. So, I mean, this guy, I can't go across it. This guy's
This
a tall
guy,
guy, right?
where am I?
That's a pretty tall man.
guy.
This is 3 meters. So think
that
of a tall
guy.
person, and then it's like much taller. So imagine
meter
that
taller.
wandering around. It's crazy.
Yeah, unless you
yeah.
could like train them and ride
Ride
them.
them with little what's that
a
I'm
little
doing?
saddle
a
and
little
a
saddle and a little
rein.
jockey rein.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd enjoy that though. Those creatures.
I don't know either. But so this kind of
And just to say as
oh.
well, just to clarify, sorry, very quickly, that
right.
is an Australian creature, just in case you forgot from the story as well. So there you go. We have
that's
the
an
biggest.
Australian?
That's an Australian one. So
Okay.
we have the biggest flightless bird to have ever.
Did they
believed to
did
have
they
ever roamed
evolve
the world.
evolve to be the emu?
No, that
No,
was what
okay.
was thought for a very long time, but in fact they are different creatures.
Okay. Good thought though.
Good thought, though. Yeah, no, that's what they thought for ages.
I
Well
didn't
done,
mean to
Jack.
compliment myself there, but I've got all the knowledge.
Bravo.
I've got all the thoughts. This
Yeah.
kind of follows on. It's from Girraween Public School from Nichelle. Sorry if I get any of your names, Rogs.
Sorry, I do it
Rogs.
all the time too.
If they were alive right now, would humans be endangered?
Would humans be endangered?
So if we had
I
all
don't know.
these giant, big animals roaming around,
Probably not. Probably, I don't know. I mean, it's
Ah,
a really
hang
good
on.
question, but I mean, ooh.
what was the red for?
Ooh.
Danger.
Was that Baru?
I don't think so. It might be.
It was some big,
That was
big something or other.
something.
Similar species.
Rough
Oh
estimate
yeah,
of
look at that!
Varanus.
Wow.
Varanus price.
Oh, that's like a
Priscus. Megalina.
the 7 is that the
Megalania,
7 meter
sorry.
lizard? Yeah, that's the 7 meter lizard that I mentioned in my story show. Isn't that
doesn't look friendly.
amazing? I guess what you have to think about is that for probably around, I think scientists are thinking now about 17,000 years, humans were likely living alongside these animals. And when I say alongside, probably quite far away from that one. But yeah, no, so I mean, it's a funny thought to imagine what it might have been like if they continued.
Well, this actually, I'll bring this in because this is exactly what you're answering. It's from Saloni?
Oh, don't ask me. I'm terrible.
Well, it's from Glendale Primary School. Really sorry.
Saloni,
did Megafauna live at the time when Indigenous Australians were here, or was the Megafauna here before?
Yeah, they were here before, but they were also here when the first humans in Australia were here. So yeah, that's what I mean. So from the beginning, like they were actually living alongside humans. It's amazing. And so there's a lot of speculation about what actually happened to Megafauna, like why they actually went extinct. So some people think that potentially they were being hunted for food, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, hunting is hunting. Like that's something that has been done, prehistoric times for ages.
We still do it. We just go to grocery stores and hunt there.
Somebody else does that for us.
They
do the hunting and the gathering. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what kind of grocery store you're going to. Is it weird? So that's one possibility. It's believed that perhaps they were hunted into extinction. I mean, that's a lot of creatures to all go extinct. But think about it. We are at the moment, and over many centuries, we've sent many animals extinct already as humans, so possible. The other option is that maybe when we were talking about the environment changing, climate change, like I said, so not in the sense that we think of now, but more of a natural climate change. So, just like the Ice Age was a natural kind of occurrence, the Earth warming and the environment changing may have changed their way of living and eventually, sent them extinct. So there you go.
Do you know this? This is from Jonas. Do you know this? It's a new segment. From St. Virgil's Junior School, and it's: did Megafauna by any chance fight or meet dinosaurs?
That's a good question. I think it's possible. I'm trying to think because.
What happened in that cold time
You would
movie?
think it would be possible. But dinosaurs existed a very long time ago, whereas a lot of this megafauna existed well and truly after dinosaurs had already gone extinct. So, yeah, it's a good question. Is my little birdie looking this up for us?
Also, look at all the emojis that Jonas sent in with that. Heaps of dinosaur emojis.
Wow, dinosaurs. I didn't even realise there was a dinosaur emoji.
You know what? I don't know if I did either.
Amazing. I'm going to start using it more often. Thank you very much.
I think it's very essential.
I think so too. Very essential. In like every conversation, just add the little dinosaur.
Just put a little dinosaur.
Yeah. What's your favourite emoji?
I don't know if I have one. I do the laughing, crying, laughing one a lot.
You're the crying.
I like the one that's like going like this.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't really know what it means. It's just kind of like.
It actually means sass. Because you type it in and then it pops up. So it's like sass. It's sass. Like you type up like sassy. I think sassy. Yeah.
I just thought it was. Yeah.
My favourite is this one. Although I never use this one, I just use this all the time. You know the monkey?
The monkey.
Yeah, the monkey. And then I use this one.
See no evil.
Yeah. I always do it as like a cheeky, like, ooh. Ooh, yeah, I said that. All right, next question. Off topic. Sorry.
This is a hypothetical. It's from Leo from Cororoit Creek Primary School.
Wow,
Sorry.
I really butchered that.
Yeah. I don't think I'll be back next week. If the conditions in Australia...
Jake Evans.
My evil twin.
Sorry.
If the conditions in Australia were changed back to the days of megafauna, would those animals come back? Would new megafauna species appear?
Yeah, look, that's such a good question. I feel like I'd like to imagine, I don't know for sure, but I'd like to imagine that would be the case. I think a little bit like I was saying before, how I think animals kind of adapt and grow to their environment, and, you know, humans do too, and evolve around their environment. I think the same sort of thing would happen if we were going back to the same weather conditions and the same massive, areas of space and the same vegetation. Maybe.
This is from... I like this question. It's more of like a comment.
Okay.
But then it...
I love comments.
Okay, but I'll read it out. So it's from Amelia.
Oh, hi, Amelia.
And
great name.
Well, and Amelia says, were the massive birds vegetarian? If so, what kind of fruit did they eat? Must have been some big fruit.
Must have been
so it is a bit of a question.
big
But then
fruit.
she goes on to say, no, I am not the Amelia in your office, or am I? So did you send
Amelia?
this in?
I promise I didn't. I promise.
I don't
It's
know.
not me. It's not me. That's such a good comment. I think you win comment of the day for me. That was a good one. I love it.
I'm just not sure if I can trust you. So do you know what
Maybe
they...
I'm the one asking the question and I'm not really Amelia. I'm her evil twin.
Does that
Emilio.
mean I'm Jack's evil twin?
You're
Jake?
Jake Evans.
That's
That's why the cup's empty, because Jake doesn't like tea.
He does
Anyway,
hate tea.
sorry, we've definitely
We've
got to
gone
get back
too
on
far.
topic. Too far.
Well, I
too
think
far.
we've only got probably one more question.
I don't actually know what they
yeah, we
ate.
didn't
I'm
answer.
so sorry. I can't answer that, Amelia. I'm not actually sure.
But I think she'd
they
be
were-
right. It would have been some
I'm
big
sure it would have been
fruit.
some big fruit.
Big fruit.
Or some big veggies, meaning leaves and things. Or maybe some...
Or
oh, no, what
carrots.
do birds eat? Well, birds eat insects.
Seeds.
Seeds.
They
Yeah.
eat seeds?
Seeds,
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Bird
Insects.
seed.
Insects.
Yeah.
Bird seed, yes.
Early bird gets the worm, or massive
Maybe there were
bird
some
gets the
big
massive worm.
worms. Maybe there were some big worms.
Big bird, big worm.
This is going way off track. I'm so sorry.
We could do a segment where we just say big and then something after
And
it.
whatever else.
Big cup.
Big tea.
Big tea.
Oh, no, that was too many words. Oops.
I think that is the segment.
Big tablet.
Alright.
All right. Well, let's end with this. It's just for fun, for lols, if you will, for a bit of a chuckle,
Uh-oh.
a giggle.
A giggle.
Amelia.
Oh. Yes?
This is from Riley, and they ask, Amelia, what is your most embarrassing moment in your life?
My most embarrassing moment in my life?
Yeah, it's probably having to do this with me.
Yeah, well, no, that's your most embarrassing moment is this. Yeah.
Okay.
No, put you-
Big impact.
Big embarrassment.
Embarrassment. That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, all right. You're really
Last
putting me on the
week.
spot here. Okay. Well, look, I can tell you. How about some of my most embarrassing moments on BTN?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hasn't
Because
really-
you didn't have a life before BTN.
No, it didn't exist before BTN.
You were
I'm
created
a robot.
purely for BTN.
BTN purposes.
BTN bot.
All right. All right. So my most embarrassing. So I went on a shoot once, and a couple of years ago, and we were doing a story on hip hop, and like.
I've seen this.
On hip hop, and it was really embarrassing because every once in a while you'll be with it. We have camera people, who'd film for us, and they might say, "Oh, try doing this or do that," and my camera person said, "Oh, Amelia, you need to have a go at rapping," and I was like, No, I don't have to do that. Like, it's about the kids. Let's talk about the kids. And he's like, no, you should definitely give it a go. And I did, and it was just so bad. It was so bad. I got 3 words rhyming. Rhyming is not my forte, I've realised.
No,
I can't rhyme.
You need to have like a...
time.
Yeah, and you got to have
Yeah.
it in your memory brain.
Yeah, that's it. Are you okay? Do you have a memory brain? Because
You need to
the
be able to
words.
store the words in your brain so you can pull them out during
sorry,
a rap.
I just remembered. I want to say something before we go
Oh.
that is actually relevant to Megafauna. Megafauna.
Big animals.
Okay, so
Big animals.
Maybe let's leave this with a final point because I think this is
Okay.
really fascinating and very important for everybody to
Who's
know.
running this show?
Oh, sorry.
We'll leave this as our final point.
What
Go
is
ahead.
it? Yep. Sorry, I forgot you're in charge. Megafauna still exist.
Wait, we can't leave it on
Mind
that.
blown. No, I'm going to say more. That's it.
And
We're outta
goodbye.
here.
Wait, so
Mind
Megafauna
blown.
still exists?
Megafauna still exists. And guess what? Have a think about it. What might they be? Big animals. Big animals. They're big animals. It's just that. They are big animals. So the term technically means just big animals. And so while Australia doesn't have any massive animals.
Okay, I was trying to think.
Think about other countries that do. So we have elephants.
Elephants.
Massive animals. Hippos.
Hippos. Rhinos.
Rhinos. Big animals. So they are technically megafauna. So yeah, when you hear the term, it's generally meaning extinct sort of megafauna, the really big ones. But technically, yeah, they are still around. And I did think there was one question we didn't get to, which was what was the biggest? Sorry, I'm taking over here. What was the biggest megafauna to ever exist? Do you remember that question? I saw it when I was scrolling through just to see earlier.
You scrolled through this?
And I've revealed something about Ask a Reporter.
You answer and I'll have a look.
So guess what it is? I wonder if any of you might have already thought about it. It still exists. The biggest animal to ever have existed that we know of is still alive today, and it's the blue whale. So there you go.
It's a
So
whole
the
lot
blue
of
whale
whale.
is goes to around 30 meters in length and weighs around what's that? 200 tons. I still don't know what tons to kilograms is. What is it?
It's
Anyway.
1,000.
Is it? It's 1,000.
Yeah.
It is 1,000.
So
Yeah.
200,000.
So there you go.
200,000 kilograms.
There you go. So they're still around today.
That's a big animal.
Isn't that amazing? So there you go.
I did find the
thought that was
question.
fun facts.
So it was from Craigburn Primary and it was from Christian.
There you go. Thanks, Christian. Awesome.
Well, that's it. I think
what we
it's time to say goodbye. I just made up this song.
I think there's one thing we have to do before we go. What do you think that might be, guys? Is it going to be, well...
Congratulate
No,
me.
I thought you knew what I was going to do. We're doing the big animals.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And
Big animals!